Good day, everyone. You are listening to All Jujitsu podcast. In this series, we're looking to explore the business side of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is brought to you by alljujitsu.com, the world's first complete business platform for BJJ professionals. And here we're talking about athletes, coaches, BJJ brands, freelancers such as BJJ photographers, event organizers, and so on. All Jiu-Jitsu provides you with access to an online marketplace where you can sell your services such as seminars and private classes, manage your calendar, communicate with your clients, or sell physical goods all in one place. If you want to make a step towards being truly professional, join us on alljujitsu.com. Our today's guest is Maggie Left. Maggie is a prolific BJJ photographer who provides our large community with some of the best photos out there. If you follow the BJJ scene and the social media, you've probably seen her photos on the profiles of some of the best athletes. In this podcast episode, we're talking about Maggie's entrance into BJJ photography scene, her work with BJJ, the various services she provides sponsored athletes through the program that she runs called Keep It Smileful, and some solid advice for anyone looking to enter the BJJ photography. We hope you enjoy this episode, and if you do, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Maggie, thanks very much for joining our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy about it.
Amazing. So I've seen you burst on the scene maybe about 3-4 years ago. You might correct me on that, but suddenly every cool athlete out there started posting these amazing shots and photos and their portraits with the Maggie Left. I was like, who is this Maggie Left? I never heard of. And then before we knew, you started kind of in a way dominating the scene of BJJ photography. So tell us a little bit, how did that burst happen? How did you get into Jiu-Jitsu scene?
Well, I had this thing for a long time. Well, I was working as a photographer, and at some point I decided to stop doing it. I went to TV, I started working in advertising, media, things like that. And at some point I started doing jiu-jitsu, training jiu-jitsu. And my friends were going to a competition. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and take some pictures. And that's it, basically. Once I started, a lot of people, especially I remember Teta, for example, started supporting me. Roger Gracie posted one of my pictures, and then suddenly a lot of people from Jiu-Jitsu started following me. I was like, okay. And after that, my first tournament was at the London Open. Carolina Carriello, who is the girl who organizes the IBJJF London Open, called me the day before, oh, Maggie, listen, I'm so sorry, but I don't have a photographer. Would you cover this for us? And I was like, yeah, sure. So that was the first tournament. And then Luca Nacoreta pushed me, every time he was texting me, you should work for the IBJJF. And I was like, Luca, I'm not going to talk to the IBJJF, just leave me alone. And he was like, Maggie, you should come to Rome and you should work for the IBJJF. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And the fourth time he said, Maggie, just do this. And I was like, okay, Luca, I'm going to do it. So I texted the IBJJF and I was like, well, sorry, my name is Maggie. You don't know me. And the guys were like, of course we know you. And I was like, okay. So, and after that, they've been amazing. They allowed me to choose any tournament in Europe. I can cover any tournament I want. And I started collaborating with them. And this is how it started, basically.
So, I was curious about your relationship with IBJJF. So it's literally started off you texting them and saying, can I cover the things? And would the rest of the photographers be in the same kind of boat? So what is that relationship? Are you employed by them, or are they just give you access and you do whatever you want? So what is the kind of the connection point here?
Personally, I'm hired by them, but I'm hired every tournament I go, I get paid for every tournament. All right. So I don't have a monthly salary or anything like that. The good thing is they allow me to choose, just tell me which tournament you want to do and you have them, which is really nice. I started doing basically all the tournaments. I had a place to stay at in Europe. And And then I started doing more and more, and now I'm doing almost every tournament. I'm not doing Germany and Switzerland because both are kind of expensive countries, and I have to cover my expenses. So this is why I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we'll touch on what goes into actually doing those. But in relation to IBJJF and Workday, what is your kind of agreed output with them? So what do you have to actually do? Just produce a certain number of photos, or how does it work?
I have to, produce just at least 350 pictures is more or less the amount. Obviously, sometimes it's 310 and sometimes it's 800 because it also depends on the action. It also depends on the light. Sometimes the light is just so bad. It's very, very difficult to get a lot of high quality pictures. And this is something that I really value from the IBJJF. I think that at some point they decided that quality was more important than quantity. So even if sometimes it's not 350 or 450, they are still happy because the quality of the picture is good. So that's basically what I have to do for them. Then obviously they allow me to still have my dedicated coverage because they understand that I need to make money. So that's basically the deal. They don't ask me to be exclusive with them, like who work in other tournaments with other federations. Still, personally, I think that they treat me so well that I owe some kind of loyalty. I still go to some tournaments like Polaris, for example, but that's not a federation. But I try to not to work for any other federations but them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So you mentioned that they'll also allow you to have the dedicated coverage, and from my outside perspective, that's what I also always saw your business model as, is predominantly dedicated coverage. Would people normally get access to do dedicated coverage unless they provide the photo services to IBJJF, or does one have to go with the other?
No, it doesn't. I mean, they can have the dedicated coverage. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you hire me for dedicated coverage, I'm going to be on your mat, and some of those pictures are going to go to the Federation Facebook because I have the pictures. That doesn't mean that you're going to have more pictures than any other athlete, because I'm going to send you 30 pictures, and I cannot post 30 pictures of you at the IBJJF because other athletes must have that. So, but yeah, obviously a couple of pictures are going to go to the Facebook.
So talk to us a little bit about the whole kind of idea of dedicated coverage and what it represents and what is the service, so people have a clear understanding of what you're actually selling.
Well, basically the idea is not mine. This is something that in the States has been done for a long time now. But I think I was probably the first one doing it in Europe. If I wasn't the first one, clearly I was one of the first ones doing it. The idea is I cannot guarantee that I'm going to be in every person's mat. It's impossible for me because also personally I edit every single picture by picture. So it's impossible for me to be everywhere. So the only way for you to guarantee that I'm going to be there is to have the dedicated coverage. Because as I said, like maybe you want me on your mat, but at that moment, like a black belt is fighting and is a very important and well-known black belt, I must have that picture for the IBJJF. If you have dedicated coverage, I'm going to take 1-2 pictures for the IBJJF and I make sure to run and go to your mat or whatever, or I make sure to, usually, for example, in that specific thing, I try to not to take dedicated coverage at the same time as the black belts are fighting. But if that's the case, if you have dedicated coverage, I can guarantee you that I'm going to be there no matter what. So that's basically what people are paying for. They have like different packages and there are different options for them, whatever suits everyone.
And the one important aspect, so I had a quick look on your website, and we also incorporated that into All Jiu-Jitsu platform where people can actually purchase your services now as well. But the type of licenses, I know you're very kind of vocal about the type of licenses and people's understanding what they're actually buying and how they can use this. So can you go a little bit into that, please? Just what that personal license, I guess, gives people.
Well, the thing is, I was a photographer before studying Jiu-Jitsu. So when you work like for media, for example, or when you're working for an advertising company, you know the image rights that you are giving to that company every time. Suddenly I came to Jiu-Jitsu and everyone was doing whatever they wanted with the pictures. So yeah, I have this picture, it's amazing. I take it from the IBJJF and then I use it to sell my gigs, things like that. So basically when I say personal license, what I mean is just don't try to sell your brand through my pictures without paying for it. And a lot of people think, oh, this is going to be super expensive. And the reality is that I'm very nice. If you ask me, I'm usually very nice, and I'm not going to say the prices, but sometimes I'm like, are you serious? Because it's not expensive. But I just want to make the point that people need to value other people's work. It's like, I have to value that someone is giving me a jiu-jitsu class. Why are you not valuing that I pay for all my gear, that I came here and I took pictures for you? It's kind of the idea.
And that brings me to my next question then, the whole value for, I think I might have mentioned it in my previous episode and conversation with Tariq, but the whole idea of valuing something that seems to be, at least at the moment, in such an abundance when it comes to tournaments, and you even mentioned the quantity of photos that you take and how accessible they are, because all people need to do eventually is go to a IBJJF Facebook page, and maybe out of 100, 300, 400, like it's yourself plus other photographers as well, like the hundreds of photos from each tournament, and there's like, well, why would I pay for something that I can basically just click save to downloads and stuff like this? So how do you perceive it that to an extent devalues what you do? And how do you battle with that problem? What's the consensus, I guess, even in the community of photographers? I presume you talk about this sometimes as well.
Yeah, we do. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm very lucky. And in general, and I'm saying in general, people respect my work a lot. And I receive tons of messages of people like, hey, Maggie, would you mind if I repost this picture? Or I have this picture from Facebook, can I use it? They usually text me before doing anything. Sometimes I feel like I must be a witch because everyone is kind of scared of what I'm going to do. But usually people respect it a lot. Yeah, sometimes they haven't, but that's not the rule. The rule is people are very nice. I think that it's not just a problem of social media and how we are all giving things away. I think it's also the fact that a lot of people are so afraid to be good enough that they just give away their work. It's like, because I'm so afraid of saying this costs $50, £50, 50 euros, whatever. They are so afraid to say that. They are going to be like, oh, no, I'm going to give you like 400 pictures for 25 euros. And it's just like, no, dude, you're paying for your tickets. You're paying for your hotel. You pay for your gear. You're investing time. And you're doing everything as well as you can. That has a price, and you have to set it. So I think it's more that is just undervaluing our work than social media. Because in the end, on social media, for example, when I post pictures on Facebook, they always have my watermark. At the beginning, I used it to have like the tiny watermark. Then I saw that people use it to crop it, and I was like, okay, then we're going to put a bigger one. Then just have it started texting me like, stop using your watermark, it's annoying. So now on my Instagram, usually I don't use the watermark anymore. But also on Instagram is not normal. Like usually I'm using pictures of athletes that are going to repost it and they are going to credit me anyway. So I don't know if I answer your question, but
no, it does. It does. And again, it's something that you've just briefly touched on. Let's expand on that a little bit. I think that's quite interesting. What goes into actually attending a tournament, taking the photos, and so what's your thinking? Was like, yeah, hey, I'm gonna go do Pan Ams that are not happening now, but I was like, IBJF, I would like to go and do the Pan Am coverage. So what does it cost you from your own time perspective, from the monetary perspective? What are you paying for? What they're covering, etc.
Well, every time I'm going to the States, I'm paying money to work. That's the summary of it. Like every time I go to the States, I'm just paying to get photos of all of you guys. That's the reality. I pay for my tickets, I pay for my hotel, I pay for my food. Well, usually the IBJJF give us food at the tournaments, but I usually don't have the time to eat because I'm working. So, but yeah, I should pay for my food and what else? Basically I'm paying for everything. So I decided to go to those tournaments because I wanted to promote European Jiu-Jitsu and European athletes. Obviously, when I'm there, I'm going to take pictures of everyone. Americans, I don't discriminate. Oh, you're American, I'm not going to take pictures of you. No, I take pictures of everyone. But because I know the who are the good European athletes, because I'm seeing them every time, every single tournament, it's easier for me to cover guys who probably wouldn't be covered by other photographers. So if you ask me about how much it costs like a lot of money and a lot of time. Also, when I'm doing those tournaments, I'm not working anywhere else. So it's not just that I'm paying to go there, it's that I'm not earning money on the other side. Yeah. So I think that's a good summary of it. In Europe, obviously, because we have friends everywhere, it's easier to earn some money.
So is it fair to say you do still a good bit of work outside of Jiu-Jitsu domain as well then?
Yeah. yeah, of course.
Yeah, it might be a silly question from my side, but again, because we don't have the insight into this, I was like, well, Maggie she must make a ton of money from Jiu-Jitsu and she can do this full time. I don't know.
I mean, I do photography full time. I'm that lucky, and don't get me wrong, it's like, of course, Jiu-Jitsu is getting better at understanding that we need to pay for the pictures at the Jiu-Jitsu community. And also, like, more schools and academies are hiring me, which is really good, because they have the money and it's easier for them to pay. And, like, I feel like things are getting better, so that's very good. And also the promotion that the IBJJF gives me for using my pictures is already very big. So obviously all the chances of working on the IBJJF community comes up because of that.
Let's talk a little bit about your style then. So you have very distinct style. I think if you remove all the watermarks and we see your photos, we'll probably know they're yours. So it's almost like the watermark in itself, so which is quite amazing. And I feel that I think that's a good few of the guys like this, like a kind of prominent photographers in the scene, you could pretty much identify straight away because of that style. So did you develop that style? Have you developed that style over time, or did you already come into Jiu-Jitsu with that idea in mind?
I'm going to be very honest with you. A lot of people tell me, like, oh, you have this amazing style. I don't even think I have a style. I always say that I'm very lucky and just inspiration takes over in every single tournament and every single time I take the camera. Yes, I have a degree. Yes, I've studied a lot, but every time I take the camera, it's like I forget everything I know. It's just like I get in that state where I just feel what is going on around, and I just shoot. It's true that when I started taking pictures in Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, the sacrifice and how much it hurts and how difficult and how hard. And I was like, yeah, but we're not doing this because of the sacrifice. We're doing this because we love it.
Yeah.
So why is not people showing that side, the side of happiness, of enjoyment, of hard work paying off? And I guess that it was more about that, about showing the emotion behind it. And I don't know if that's my style, because that's what we see. Amazing. If not, I don't know what my style is. Because I think also it's like it's changing all the time. I don't see my pictures and see, and oh yeah, this picture is exactly the same as this other picture. I can see some differences. Hope.
There are for sure the differences, but what I personally notice is a lot of the close-up shots and the faces, and I don't think that many people do this. There's a lot of people are always focusing on the action element and the jiu-jitsu, whereas if I'm looking at your photos, I'm looking exactly for what you said, for the emotion of the individual, of the essence of what they're experiencing there, whether it's joy or pain or something else, but I can see it in their face. Not so much the action. I don't really mind jiu-jitsu at that moment so much, but it's like I want to see what they actually like, what they feel like. So that's pretty amazing.
To be very honest with you, I love the action. I mean, I train jiu-jitsu, so yes, I love the action. I really enjoy watching a good submission and all that. But I don't know. As I said, I feel like this world, this community is a very masculine action community already, and there is a lot of testosterone in every single combat. But the reality is that we are all feeling things. We are frustrated. We are happy. We are sad, and I think it's very important, because what we are feeling is what is moving us to keep working. What we feel is what makes us to not to quit. It's not the fact that we broke someone's arm or that we choked someone. It's what we feel when we are fighting. So I guess that this is why I chose the close-ups. But I must confess that it's true. When I started, a lot of people were just taking pictures of the action. But now, like, everyone is taking close-ups and portraits. So I think things are changing, which makes me very happy. I received a message like a few months ago, not that month, but a month ago, something like that. A friend of mine was like, I think that this guy and this guy are copying your style. I was like, that's awesome. Because what I wanted when I started is to put some quality and people trying to do things. So, yeah, we are changing the game, and I think that's very good.
Okay, another question I have, that's just personal curiosity, is how do you manage in a tournament to take so many photos and post them all at the same time? This is mind-boggling.
You also forget that I also edit them. So I don't know. As I said, I feel like I'm very lucky. And when I'm taking pictures, it's like, I don't know, it's like something takes control. I sometimes I feel like it's not even me, because when I see the huge amount of work, I'm like, how did I do that? Like, that was a lot. So no, I don't know. I just have this thing of trying to balance in enjoying, because I also try to enjoy the tournament and feeling what is happening around. So I try to balance enjoying, taking pictures, editing, posting. Also, I'm the one posting the pictures, so posting the pictures. And now sometimes I'm also taking videos, so that's pretty interesting too. But I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. As I said, I really don't know how I do it.
Taken some amateur photographs of my academy sometimes and trying to post them. It takes me about 3 hours to post one photo. Obviously, I'm not a photographer, but the scale just is mind-boggling.
I don't know. I see, for example, I'm not going to say who, but I've seen some people who have like someone working for them. So one is taking the pictures and the other one is posting. I should do that now that I'm thinking of. Oh, but yeah, that's the other thing. I'm a control freak. No one can edit my pictures. So, yeah, no, I cannot do that. Well, but you have this option, which I guess is very helpful. And there are a lot of people who just take the camera, send the picture straight to their phones and just post them. But I have to edit them, so I cannot do that either. So, yeah, I don't know how I do it. It's true, and that's true, and a lot of people don't know this. It's like, after a tournament, I'm probably going home and not out, and I'm going to be editing pictures till 3 a.m. So the day after, people are going to have pictures to post on their Instagram. But I don't know, probably that's the only thing I do. I don't have a life.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, we definitely do appreciate it. It's like sometimes I just stop myself and I look at it as like the volume, and when I start thinking about the process, because that's what I try to do these days, just think about whatever happens around the tournament or event, like what is the process that goes into this. And sometimes I'm seeing literally hundreds of photos going next day, edited, beautiful. I was like, how does this happen? No idea. Another personal curiosity question: how many cameras do you have at a tournament?
Okay, that's a very good one, because a lot of people think that we need an amazing, super expensive camera. So I always try to have two, but at some point I didn't have money, so I have to sell my second camera. And a lot of people was, yeah, but you have an amazing camera. I had a Mark II, Canon 5D Mark II, which is like 12 years old. And I had it until last October. And now I have a Mark IV because the Mark II started failing. But I was taking all my pictures with a 12 years old camera. So yeah, now I have two. I still have my Mark II and the Mark IV. So, but for a long time, for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, I just had my Mark II.
So now two cameras. The whole awesome job is done with two cameras. Yeah, that's amazing. So another thing that I started noticing recently in your posts, especially social media posts, it's not just the photos. It's not just a photo and a few hashtags, but it's quite lengthy posts. So can you just elaborate a little bit on what goes through your mind, and why is that impulse to put a little bit more than just a photo?
I think that, as my friend Luisa says, I'm just a hippie. No, the thing is, I'm very grateful for my life. I've been very lucky. I have friends who support me. And when I started the whole Jiu-Jitsu thing, I always wanted to do something that was going to be meaningful. I wanted to do something that was going to help the community. But because I was working so hard, traveling so much, and I was broke, I never found the moment and the time to do it. I was always like kind of overwhelmed. Suddenly now, because of the whole coronavirus thing happened, obviously I cannot fly and I'm still working, but I have more time. So I wanted to start doing what I always wanted to do, which is just leaving ideas in there. So if anyone do something with them and it's useful for someone, I'm happy. If it's just cheesy and too hippie, sorry, that's me. But yeah, I think it's very important because I feel like there are too many things that people are not talking about in the Jiu-Jitsu community. And I think it's very important to talk about them. And also because of what we are all living, I think that we should all try to look more into ourselves. And we should acknowledge that we are very, very lucky, like our lives, like everything we have, and we are still complaining. I think that's the main reason why I started doing it. Yeah.
Very nice. And you're also very notorious for your creative hashtags. The main one being, and the one you use as your motto for your sponsored athletes, is "Keep it smileful." Can you talk to us a little bit about the whole concept, why, like the whole phrase, where it came from, and what it represents, and how you using this to promote the athletes?
The reality is, as I said, when I arrived to the Jiu-Jitsu community, everything was about porrada and train hard and, you know, and being the I don't know, like just the hard work. And the other day you had Tariq in your podcast, and Tariq said something about training smart. And I agree with him. I think that it's not always about how much you train and how hard you train, but about how smart you are on your training. So, because I was also training and I was talking to a lot of fighters and athletes, I could see how stressful they were before going into a tournament, before entering to the mats. And there is something that we do when you are casting people, when you are directing people. It's a very stupid thing, but it's based on science. Basically, you ask people to smile. It can be the fakest smile ever, but you have to smile for like 15, 30 seconds. Basically, what you're doing is when you smile, you send a message to your brain that says, oh, everything is okay. I can relax. So it's easier to flow when you're relaxed. If you're very tense, it's easier to get hurt, basically. So this is why I started the whole thing, the keep it smileful thing. Just smile, it's going to be okay. And I use it with my athletes because I want at some point to send a message. So I thought it was the right thing to do, use it for them too. Also, I don't choose my athletes just because they are awesome. They are awesome. A lot of gold medals, they are amazing athletes, but that's not the only reason why I choose them. I choose them because of who they are as a person. So I feel like that keep it smileful idea connects very well with them.
Tell us about your guys. Who are you sponsoring at the moment with this program, with this idea, and what do these guys stand for?
Well, now I have 4 black belts because Nina Navid got her black belt in December. So I have Samantha Cook, who trains under Marco Cagna in London. She's European champion in every single belt. I have Yas Wilson, the first female brown belt to win the Worlds in the UK. She's also a former Polaris champion. I have Nina Navid, who is a black belt under Roger Gracie. And also she's fought ABI, she's fought like Europeans, she's really, really good. And I have Danny, we call him Magrelo in Spain. He won the Europeans in the master divisions. And he is a very special guy. You will get to know him, I'm sure. Obviously, I have Tariq, who, I mean, I don't think he needs any introduction. Tariq Plata. And I have Fiona. Fiona is a purple belt and Roger Gracie. She's winning everything, basically, but also she's an amazing person, and this is why she's sponsored. And Richie B from East Coast Jiu-Jitsu, who is also an amazing athlete. And apart from being a great athlete, he's just so helpful and trying to help everyone. He's a hard worker, and you can see that. He's like studying and training, and he's giving classes, and at the same time, he's doing all the social media for so many brands and athletes, and he's just like, he's doing a very good job.
And you also you also have a couple of guys that don't that you're not sponsoring necessarily as part of the Keep It Smileful program, but they're very prominent in your feed. So, and those are kind of the OGs of European Jiu-Jitsu, right? So the likes of Luca, the likes of Dara, the likes of Teta there in Norway as well. So So that's really awesome to see as well. And as Tarek mentioned, that you do really put a lot of hard work into promoting the European scene specifically, even though there are a lot of good American and Brazilian guys.
Yeah, I try to. And yeah, it's true that at some point I was taking a lot of pictures of very specific athletes, like, as you said, Dara. Dara is an amazing coach. I mean, he's great. He's a great fighter, and I really enjoy his style. I think that I'm very close. Wait a minute. I like his style, and my style is close to what he does, but he does it properly, and I'm not good at it. But I would like to be like him in that sense. But he's an amazing coach. And with Teta, it's the same thing. He's aggressive and amazing, but at the same time, he's one of the best coaches I've seen in Europe. I have some of the Roger Gracie Academy coaches. Again, people who are able to win the Europeans, like junior. And at the same time, the same day, he's next to every single person fighting at a tournament. Like, literally, he jumps from the mat to the corner of someone to shout at them, to support them. So, yeah, I think, like, I wanted to show that too, because it's not just about how many gold medals you have, but about how much you are supporting the community. And people like Luca Nacoretta or Dara, they are also supporting the community. This amazing girl, Amal, the girl from Belgium, she's a beast, because nothing else describes her. And still, you could see at the Europeans, she was trying to coach everyone. At some point, I remember I went to her and I was like, "You're not coaching anymore. Can you go and warm up?" She was coaching the same day, like an hour before she had to fight. And I think that those are things that you need to show. So this is why I'm showing them. Also, I would like to start taking more pictures of all these guys from Hungary, like Jaroslav, things like that, people like that who are really, really amazing. And again, they don't get any coverage normally.
Yeah, that's amazing. And another question I have, again, something curious. Do you think, so you obviously train, do you think a photographer can be good, really good at jiu-jitsu photography without training? Could you have been as good as you are without actually understanding jiu-jitsu?
You need to be very passionate about what you're taking pictures of. I've taken pictures of things in my life that I didn't understand. When I started taking pictures, I was taking pictures of music, and I had the chance to go on tour with amazing musicians. Sometimes I didn't really know them, but just by feeling things while they were playing, I could take really good pictures. So I guess that if you're able to connect with that feeling inside you, you are able to take good pictures even if you don't train. But obviously it's much easier if you train. You have this woman who is amazing, Lisa from United States. She doesn't train, and she's been taking pictures for 10 years or 8 years, I don't know, a long time. And she's one of the best in America. And she doesn't train. She's a white belt, I think. And she's been a white belt for a long time. So, or Kenny Dewell, who does all the pictures for the IBJJF in California, and he doesn't train either. So, yeah, here you go.
Interesting. And so what are the plans now that with the cancellations of the tournaments? Is it just kind of local work for you, and then whenever everything just gets back to normal, you hit the ground running, book yourself into the tournaments and get going?
Well, right now I'm still working as a producer in a TV show in Spain. Thank God I got that. But I'm taking advantage of this time to create a new website where I want to have like different things, like videos, interviews, like it's something that I've been willing to do for a long time. In fact, when I started sponsoring athletes, that was the plan. I wanted them to have a website where they could, have their own space. But also because I've been working along a lot of different athletes. Now I see that we have too many things to talk about. So I'm using this time to create that new website and all that new content.
Do you think one day you will get sponsored by somebody? Do you have any sponsors?
After that, well, I have Teta, who sponsors me with chocolate in every tournament. You're saying he's the man. I have also this great sponsor, Gorillas, website built by Jason Shield and his Shields, and his team. I can also think about, because I'm traveling around the place. This is not a sponsorship. I obviously belong to Roger Gracie Academy, but it's true that because I'm traveling so much, everywhere I go, there is always an academy opening the doors for me. And I don't know, I could name a few, like East Coast and Checkmat in Madrid, and who else? Luca Nacoreta in Italy. People who every time I'm around, they're going to invite me to train, and I really appreciate that a lot. So thank you, all of you guys too. And well, I'm also very honored to be with All Jiu-Jitsu. Now you can buy and find my dedicated coverage packages on the website. So go there, and anytime anyone wants to book my dedicated coverage now, they'll go to alljujitsu.com. And yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you on board as well. But yeah, I was thinking for a while that anybody who participates in this ecosystem of Jiu-Jitsu deserves at least a consideration from sponsors. So it's not just the athletes that can be sponsored, but as I said, really anybody who contributes some value to the ecosystem and who gains some notoriety, some recognition in their own domain, like yourself. But obviously it's a two-way street, so you also need to consider who you accept as sponsors, right?
The thing is, and this is my case, like I understand that a lot of people are willing to do anything they need to do to get what they want. Personally, I was working in advertising, and I had to quit because at some point my morals got in the middle, and I was like, oh, I don't agree with what we are selling. So it's the same thing. Like I understand that people need sponsors, but just make sure that you agree with what people are selling. Because a lot of times we just get a sponsor because we need the money, but we're not going to feel good if we don't really believe in the brand. And also, you're not going to be a good sponsor athlete if you don't believe what the brand is selling.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense, and I think it's probably we might leave it for another conversation. Hopefully, this is not our last podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of, especially in the jiu-jitsu, where you can agree or disagree with things. I think it's not as black and white, and I have certain ideas of my own, and as I said, but it's probably worth it a separate talk of its own.
Then next time it's me interviewing you for a podcast, right?
That will work.
Done. Sold.
So one other question before we finish up, Maggie, is any advice for people who are trying to start out in this career, in this domain of BJJ photography? Any useful things to say?
I get that question a lot. Like a lot of different photographers text me randomly, and I always try to answer everyone. One, don't give up. Sometimes it gets very, very hard, but if you really like it, don't give up. Two, don't sell yourself too low. Like, don't undervalue yourself, but also be very realistic about what your work is and how good you are at the moment. Maybe right now your value is going to be one, but once you get better, you have to, ask for more money, basically. So don't give up. just try to find your own thing. Don't try to copy anyone else. Don't try to do what you think people are expecting. Just do what you really like. Because if you try to just do what people are expecting you to do, or what you think they are expecting, it's not going to be good enough, because you're not going to love it. You're not going to enjoy it. So enjoy the process, because the more fun you're having while you're taking the pictures, the better your pictures are going to be. And ask questions. Just, if you don't ask, you don't know. If you don't ask someone, do you need a photographer? You will never know the answer. So ask questions. And I think that's basically it. Yeah. Also, don't do freebies. If you are good enough, don't do freebies. People need to understand your value, and they are not going to understand your value just because you're giving it for free. You give things for free because you like the person, because you like the project, because you know the circumstances of someone who really cannot afford it, or just because you love the person. But in a normal basis, don't do freebies, please. And I think that's it.
Okay, I think that's a wrap for now. So Maggie, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I really enjoyed the chat, and as I said, hope it's not the last one.
I really enjoyed it too. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you're doing for the athletes, because you're helping them to understand how to be a more professional athlete in terms of business-wise. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you for promoting European Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you for helping everyone with their business here, and just thank you for believing in European Jiu-Jitsu and doing your part. And thank you for having me here too.
No, it's amazing. We all do it really just for the love of it, and no more, no less. But I really appreciate it. Thanks very much. We'll be talking to you again. And this is it. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you.